Thank you for being here for another episode of Hunkered Down with Seth. I am really excited to have somebody on my show who I just recently learned he's a neighbor of mine. We live very close together. He's also, by any measure, one of the top headliners across the United States of America. I'm just so excited to get this. He's also, by every measure, the best dressed comic you'll ever see in your life. He's the only guy I've ever seen make a fedora work, and just all around a great guy. Lamont Ferguson. Lamont, thank you for being here. Great talking to
Seth,
you. It's always
thanks
fun.
so much, man. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for thinking of me to invite me on.
Oh, for sure. So first things first, when this is all over, you down to catch a Dirtbags game with me?
Sure. Yes, indeed.
Oh, that'd be
Uh,
great.
I enjoy being in that area, and I've seen a couple of games over the years. That'd be nice to go over there and catch some dirtbag games.
Oh, for sure. So, how you handling the quarantine? You just everything all good and under control where you're at?
For the most part, it's right now it's at the point where you're getting a little fidgety and stir crazy. So apparently my breaking point to give up any type of secrets may be a little over a month. So as long as the rescue people came before then, I think I'd be good. But right now it's like I said, right now it's a little bit fidgety and antsy, a little stir crazy.
Definitely. I almost confronted a guy because he put his groceries today in the self checkout lane on the like he had a pack of toilet paper on the place where I would put my groceries on the self checkout line, and I was so
All right.
ready to just punch him. And then I'm like, you know what? We're all in this together. Take a breath.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
right where
Well,
you are.
yeah, that is getting tested because I did go to the grocery store a couple of days ago, and some guy ran in yelling and screaming and cursing, and then randomly spitting at me. And I was like, yeah, so he's past his breaking point, obviously. But at that point in time, I was pro-virus, is what I am. It's
Yeah.
for crying out loud.
Yeah. So how you spending the time? What do you do to pass the time and stay sane, or as sane as you can get?
I think the only thing I'm looking forward to every day is having a running commentary, live commentary on the coronavirus briefings.
Yeah.
That's what pretty keeps me productive and keeps me creative and gives me something to look forward to each day is watching the entire briefings and then just giving silly commentary throughout the whole thing. So
Yeah.
that's about it.
You are on point with the fashion criticism with the brick scarves, and it's if you haven't seen his commentary, check it out on Facebook. Do you also do it on Twitter or Instagram?
uh, the typing on the one platform is enough for me because
Yeah,
it is somewhat difficult to be thinking while watching and then typing at the same time. And I would like to have done it on Twitter. There was a time where you could be able to do it. Well, I guess I could do it with Hootsuite, but you could be able to do it on one platform and it would post to all. But now I'm doing it on Facebook. So
yeah, definitely. So, how? Let's talk about your career. Like I said, one of my favorite comics to watch. Just you're on top of everything. You're in total control from the moment you step on stage. First of all,
thanks.
what are your plans post quarantine? Even though everything's still up in the air, do you have any plans like tour setting up or just hooking up with some people that you haven't seen in a while? Hint.
Other than the dirtbag games,
Yeah.
right now I'm just kind of everyone's just kind of playing it by ear to see what goes on. Uh, my calendar, because I started doing a lot of cruises, and so they weren't booked far out in advance, and if they are, then I'm kind of on a wait and hold see pattern for the cruise industry to return. But other than that, I do have dates that are on the book that are later on in the year, and so I'm pretty sure those won't be affected unless this continues until September. But other than that, just return back to the clubs and see what goes on. I think yeah, it's it'll be little people will be apprehensive at first to kind of be in large groups, but then I think the comedy will be something that they need. To kind of
Yeah.
have a whole group discussion of, in essence, one person leading it, of, hey, wasn't that crazy what we just went through, type of deal.
Oh, totally. And just to get outside and like I've maybe saw three people's faces total. Everybody's in masks, and
Oh yeah,
it's true. The show. Did you watch the show Watchmen on HBO?
yes, I did.
Yeah. When Jeremy Irons said that he put the mask on that one guy because masks make people cruel.
Yeah,
It's absolutely true because I was walking around and I was just fed up with everything. And I was like, if this guy doesn't
yeah,
move, I got the mask on.
yep, yeah, very true, very very true. Yeah, I did. I watched that. I enjoyed the Watchmen. I enjoyed the movie, and then I was a little late to the Watchmen series. But then, while we had nothing to do, I just kind of binged it, and I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, and I don't even know what to do. It's such a Groundhog's Day. Just wake
I
up,
know.
you hit Facebook, you hit Twitter.
Yep. Yeah, and yet we still have this feeling that the day is going to be different. That's a weird thing about the human psyche, is that you wake up and you go, oh, today, and then it takes a moment where you go, oh no, that's right. We're still in this,
Yeah,
so it's still going to be another day of the same thing. But I like the human spirit that we still think it might be different.
yeah. It's it's the hamster in the wheel. So yeah. So let's have a fun retrospective. So let's go all the way back to the beginning of your comedy career.
Oh wow! All right.
So, what was your initial motivation to even set foot on stage?
My initial motivation. Um, I always knew that I would be doing something to do with entertainment, and I'd known that since, I don't know, since maybe I was 8 years old or something like that.
Hmm.
But I didn't know what. So as a kid in high school, I was a musician, and I was in a musical group that we did a lot of corporate stuff. And the directors of that group said, "We think you'd be successful, or you would be good at being a stand-up comic." Uh, Nothing to do with how poorly I played. It's just me being silly within the group. And so I thought, well, they know something because they're in show business. So then I'll go ahead and try it. And then went down to the Comedy Store at 17 and didn't, had no idea what I was doing. I'd watched a lot of stand up prior to that, but no idea how to do it live. But that was the impetus to get on stage. Was someone that I thought knew something about show business said that they thought I would be good at it, and that's what made me go. That's what made me finally, pick up the phone or just go down to the Comedy Store
Uh,
and actually get up on stage.
cool. Who was in your like little group that started? Was anybody get really big, or was it just somebody like Daryl Lennox?
Uh,
And I say that because I kid Daryl all the time. I love Daryl.
that's so funny. Um, at that time when I first started, I didn't really know who was around when I first started, because as a kid you had to go up first or second and then immediately leave the club. So I couldn't really hang out. I didn't get to really hang out until a few years later, when they thought I was 21, or nobody ever paid attention to how old I was, is what it was. And then they go, well, he's been around for a while, so he must be of age, even though I wasn't. So at that point in time, the people that were around by the time I hung out was a kid by the name of, I can't think of what his real name is.
Hmm.
What the heck? Oh, anyway, it was Jamie Foxx, is what it
Ah,
was, but he wasn't. Eric Bishop. That's what it was. Eric Bishop. So he was in San Diego going to college at the time, and he would pop into the Comedy Store just starting to do stand up. So he was around at the time. There were other people that I watched start out. Bobby Lee, is another one that went on to pretty well-known status.
Oh,
But
told you.
those, yeah, and there are probably a couple of others that I'm not thinking of right now, but those are the two ones that stand out. I go, yeah, I remember those guys when they started out.
Oh, nice. And what year was that? I'm guessing that was, let's see,
Jeez.
Okay, so Jamie Foxx was on In Living Color around 95. So maybe
Yeah,
94,
so
93.
yeah, yeah, that would have to be around the time that he would be in San Diego going to school. Would be, it was definitely before In Living Color because, like I said, he was going by the name of Eric Bishop. Well, that is his name.
Yeah.
And then because I remember standing out. So we were doing a contest once, and I think he won. And we were standing outside waiting for the announcements and the votes to be tallied and stuff. And he was just really antsy. And he was saying, "I got to get out of here because things aren't happening quick enough. I got to go to LA." And that was probably the last conversation that I had with him. And then later on realized that, hey, that guy is this guy type of deal. So it was kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's fast forward to when we met. And I remember this very vividly because
Oh, nice.
you planned a huge Father's Day show at a nice theater in Seattle.
Yeah.
And
Yes, indeed.
and
It got
take
trumped by Cosby.
Yep, Cosby planned the same night. So you just came down to the club to hang out, and you this well-dressed man came into the comedy underground, and I said, "Hey, can I help you?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm Lamont Ferguson." And knowing from your picture on the wall, boom,
Oh, yeah.
there you are. And and I don't want to say you had a snap set that night, but it was definitely an annoyance set.
Those happen.
Yeah,
One of my favorite things is that because when I come off and I go, so and it actually goes okay, and so but it is I'm obviously annoyed. Uh, Someone will say, "How do you go?" I go, "Well, I got to yell at them. I enjoy yelling at the audience." Well, I remember once down at the Underground. Uh, It was just a regular weekend that I had down there, and I did a set, and the late show was just an annoying show, and there was a point
yeah,
where I kept telling the audience, "You brought this on yourself." So everything just kept either becoming more snarky, and the references became more obscure, and I just said, "You brought this on yourselves," type of deal. I remember Harry Condabolo came up to me after the set, and he goes, "You make me want to be a better comic." I'm like, "Well, that's my view."
and that seems to be your style, because your opener is you go on stage and say, "I've been doing comedy for 20 years. I've been to these countries. I've been on these networks, so I know I'm great."
What it does is they, let's see, how do I explain this? Yeah, audiences have and I have a lot of respect for audiences, all this stuff, but they have a tendency to have this attitude of, we need to make sure, or you need our endorsement for us to let you know that we're funny,
Yeah,
that you're funny. And that's the only profession that takes place. Nobody goes into a dentist or a doctor and goes, "I need to know what your medical..." You trust that that person has walked the road to be that thing. And comedy is the only thing where the people go, "No, we need to see if you're funny." And like, no, we've been funny for a long time, the
yeah,
comics that show up here. This is our job. This is what we do. So there's no endorsement. What it needs to be done, and I do this, there's a lot of psychological stuff that takes place when I go on stage. One, the amount of time I take to get to the stage. All of it, what it does is it puts an audience off balance. As long as they don't believe that they are in charge and that they are making the decisions as to what it is that's funny, then they will follow you because they have no other recourse. There's no other choice but to follow the comic. And now they're almost forced to put their trust into you because you've taken the control away from them.
oh, definitely.
That's really how it works. So
Yep, you show more chutzpah than than almost every comic. You know, that's one thing I was always admired and just had a great respect for.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So
I
let's.
miss the underground. That's always fun.
Oh yeah, the underground is that's my home club. I'll never say a bad thing about it. I'll say bad things about some of the people there, but the club itself,
Yeah,
not a bad thing. Uh, but you're a
yeah, it was
basketball fan, right?
huge basketball fan.
Huge. Yeah, this is some of the stuff I want to get deep into because, like you said, you know you're a great comic. We don't really have to. You don't have anything to prove now. Basketball. Who's your team?
I'm a lifelong Laker fan.
Mm,
So I grew up in LA. I moved to San Diego, or my family moved to San Diego when I was going to high school. All the roots, all the seeds were planted of being an LA person because I grew up in LA. So LA, yeah, and a Laker fan. I kind of vacillated between the Dodgers and the Padres. There was a point where I was a huge Dodger fan, and then I left the Dodgers when they started becoming the 1970s Yankees and started looking via free agency
yeah.
for everything. So I abandoned them, but I always stuck with the Lakers. Always a big, huge Laker fan.
Even though they are the sort of Yankees, the '70s Yankees of modern.
Now they are, yeah, with the. But now it's been so long. I'm like, you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. It's like a child. You know, if they grow up to be terrible, you're like, all right, well, I've stuck with you at this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like it. I like this team. This team is. I like the camaraderie of the team because they don't. They are a bunch of non-Lakers, with the exception of Kyle Kuzma, but there is some sort of chemistry amongst them where they actually feel like, hey, we are in this together, not like a bunch of hired guns that came out to try and do something. So.
Oh, for sure. Although I personally, grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so I'm a Bucks lifer. I've
Oh yeah.
I've been with the Bucks since they've had Sherman Douglas, um, the great
Oh,
Sidney Moncrief, the Vin Baker's years
Sidney
when he was
Moncrief was fantastic.
yeah. So that I grew up with that. Now everybody's going nuts with Giannis. I'm like, whoa, whoa, you know, tell me
Yeah, where were you? Where were you during the Marcus Johnson, Brian Winters years?
definitely, yeah. Tell me when Big Dog was the highest paid player in the NBA. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I also bring
When I
this
first
up.
started
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
this is just when I first the big name with the Bucks back then was Bob Lanier was at center.
Ooh,
And that was the late '70s at that point in time. But yeah, there was a point in time where once Marcus Johnson showed up, they were the perennial second round losers. They would always get to the playoffs and then they would lose because they didn't have enough horses and stuff like that. But
yeah.
it's nice to see the resurgence.
Oh, definitely. And you know, I was born around the Sigma years, so
Ah,
but yeah, big thing. And I bring this up because we actually down here in Long Beach have one of the best venues to watch basketball in the Walter Pyramid.
yep,
And
yes indeed.
uh,
I missed years ago. They used to have the summer league here. That was a great time to actually go down and watch. Then until they moved the stuff to Vegas and stuff. But yeah,
yeah,
it's a great place to watch games.
yeah. And the best part is, I mean, Staples Center tickets. It's what $150 for nosebleeds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep, yep.
there for $30 you could get in the sandbar. You get right there at courtside, and
Yeah.
although I mean it's empty, but it's still fun. My whole
Yeah.
vision, my whole saying is, if you ever have an opportunity to go inside a pyramid, you take that.
Oh yes, definitely. It's nice. It's another little hidden thing about Long Beach.
Oh, it's so much nice here. My fiance absolutely loves it, and
Yeah.
I,
You're close enough to where you need to be in the LA area stuff, Hollywood stuff, and then yet still far enough to remove where it's not too crazy.
yeah, I tell everybody, Long Beach is just far enough to for it to be a hassle for your LA friends.
That's funny. Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, I gotta take the 710. I gotta, it's,
Yeah.
you know, and 710's like Fury Road to them.
Where does that go? Where does it end? The 710. I only get off and on near Pasadena, but I don't go any further than
Yeah, I think it ends right up there in Pasadena somewhere.
that.
But I love it down here, and I mean, we got a Roscoe's. What else do you need?
Yeah, that's true. Good point. That is a good point.
Yep.
Man, well, that sounds good right now.
Those,
That's the other thing. Because I don't know if you saw that. Like at some point, this felt like it was a weight gain challenge, is what we were all doing with the quarantine stuff. That's exactly what it felt like. Now everything you mentioned, food, oh, that sounds good. That sounds like tasty. But all you're doing is eat.
yeah. Me and my fiance, we got it to where we only eat between 6 and 8 a.m., 11 and 1 p.m., and 6 and 8 p.m. And outside those
That's smart.
hours, you're only allowed bananas, apples, or oranges.
That's very smart. Good discipline. Nice.
Yeah. But we never stick with it though. But it would be nice if we could.
Man, well, we got it written down on a whiteboard. That's all that really matters.
Oh, for sure. All right, so round and third coming home. Lamont, do you have any words of wisdom or words of advice or just words for anyone? And
Which, just words in general.
yep,
I don't know. I don't know if I got anything. I got
just keep on
as
keeping
far as
on.
like even just yeah, it's more like that. It is a keep on keeping on. It's a thing where you figure there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and well, at one point, I said the 14 of us left will look back at this and just laugh. That's what I say.
Yep. And if it gets really bad, when I resort to cannibalism, I will make sure to avoid you till the very end.
That is greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated.
All right. Well, great talking to you. I look forward to hooking up as soon as this thing is over. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks. Sure thing, Seth. Appreciate it. All the best.